Good Wednesday morning, everyone. I got breaking news to share with you all as latest global computer models continue to trend stronger on the winter storm for Friday into early next week across the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast. Many areas could see up to 1 to 2 feet of snowfall, while others could be dealing with up to 1 inch of ice, especially across parts of the Mid-South as well. So in this video, we'll be breaking down all those details on who will see the most snow and ice. Here's a look at the latest Euro model for Friday morning on the 23rd of January, 2026, and we can see clearly where that Arctic high is in place. This is going to be the big player in all of this when it comes to that wintry weather that develops along a stationary front from about Texas into Oklahoma, across the Ozarks into the eastern seaboard. This is where all of our weather is going to really be shaping up. All right. So as we go in throughout the day on Friday, this system is going to really get underway. We're looking at light to moderate snowfall across the high plains by Friday afternoon into the evening hours as that colder air moves in, meets up with this Gulf air moving in from the south, and we get lots of isotropic upglide over the boundary, that stationary front that is draped across the deep south. And along that boundary, we are looking at snow and freezing rain. This pink area on your screen here, stretching all the way from far western Texas into southern Oklahoma, into southern Arkansas, is where the ice is going to begin. And then to the south of that is where you're looking at the rainfall. All right, so this is day 3. As we go into Saturday morning, this is when it gets extremely serious. We're going to be live streaming Friday night throughout Saturday into Sunday, and even now into Monday morning, because of how long lasting and serious this winter storm is going to be. All right, so again, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, this is the time to doing so, hitting the bell icon once I do go live Friday night. But you can see here by Saturday, light to moderate snowfall to the north of this system where the coldest air is, that Arctic high really in full swing. Significant amounts of freezing rain and ice accumulation here in Oklahoma, in Texas, as well as the Arklatex region of Arkansas into Mississippi. This is going to continue to escalate and get much worse throughout the day on Saturday. I mean, take a look at this. This is pretty serious. I don't want to go over the top with this, but the last time I could remember seeing a storm like this was back in February of 2022 at least. And last year, back in early January, we had a historic snowstorm down here. So this is up in that rank of the most intense winter storms that we have seen here on the YouTube channel in quite some time. And so you can see here all this pink here, freezing rain and icy conditions with a mixed bag of sleet in the mix of that freezing rain and very heavy snowfall to the north of the system. In fact, someone left a comment on my last video yesterday stating that this storm expands 1,500 miles. Yeah, this is a big storm system when it comes to aerial coverage. In fact, at least about 40% of the United States is looking at some big problems with the winter weather. So by Sunday morning, this moves into the upper Midwest, into the Great Lakes, into the Northeast, and this is where we have all of the freezing rain that continues. This is really not good. And the only good news about this is models have trended northward with this over the last few model runs. You know, last night's run showed that Atlanta, Georgia getting ice. Now tonight's run shows Atlanta, Georgia getting mainly rainfall out of this. Maybe a brief little pocket there of ice before it transitions over to rain, and then maybe back over to brief snow before it is all said and done. But the Northeast, the eastern seaboard, yeah, you're in some serious trouble with lots of snow, lots of ice, and lots of problems. Now let's take a look at the latest GFS model for Friday morning here, because we want to compare different models, right? We just don't want to focus on one global model, and that's the forecast, right? We want to compare them. So here's a look at the GFS, the global forecasting system. We can see this big, fat Arctic high moving in out of Canada, a 1,054 millibar surface high. This is going to be the big player in all big trouble down here in the Midwest. So as we go in throughout the day Friday, This model has lesser snow. So again, if we go back and look at the Euro model right about in here, we can see by 03 Saturday, which is Friday night, same time, you can see this model has more sleet and freezing rain and lesser snowfall with more rainfall down here. So that's the magnitude and timing differences here that make a huge difference here. If this is going to develop a little sooner, a little further north, there's going to be more problems. If this develops a little later and further south, there's going to be even more bigger problems. Whether or not where this develops, it's going to mean the difference between 2 feet of snowfall in some areas and maybe only a foot of snowfall in many areas, right? So looking at the GFS here for Saturday morning, more sleet than freezing rain here. And that's the caveat to this storm system, is how much colder air actually impacts the transition zone here. If there's deeper colder air at the surface and that little sub-freezing layer above it, we're going to see more sleet. But if there's lesser colder air in the deep layer, so basically you get freezing temperatures aloft, there's a warm layer where the snow melts to liquid water, then refreezes in a plenty of time where there's more thicker cold air. That's how you get sleet. But if there's lesser of that at the surface, then it's more freezing rain and other bigger problems, right? So this model has a lot of sleet, and I'm afraid, unfortunately, that the GFS is probably overdoing this because the Euro has been very consistent along to go with other models as well. All right, so the GFS tends to overdo because it thinks that, oh, the deep layer is going to be actually much colder than what other models are showing. Not that I want this to happen, but there's biases that we have to understand when looking at models like this. And so therefore, the GFS, I think, is overdoing the sleet a little bit too much. And I'll show you why here towards the middle part of the video. So by Sunday morning or by Sunday afternoon, ice, sleet, and snow across the Ozarks into the Appalachians, the Northeast, and the Eastern Seaboard, likely to cause significant power disruptions, flight cancellations, and road closures potentially due to hazardous, impossible road travel because of icy roadways. So now that we looked at the timing and intensity of this winter storm, who's going to see 1 to 2 feet of snowfall out of this winter storm for Friday into early next week? Well, looking at the European model here, anywhere between, say, northern Texas into parts of New Mexico, stretching all the way into the Great Lakes in the Northeast. This has trended northward in recent model runs, by the way. We'll be looking at that here briefly. But right now on the latest model run, indicating between 12 to 24 inches of snowfall is still expected here, especially across parts of northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, into parts of the Northeast here like West Virginia, Pennsylvania, as well as Watertown and Buffalo, New York, where you might see 2+ feet of snowfall by the time this is all said and done. You've had a lot of snowfall this season, by the way. And the extreme Northeast, New York City, you look to get anywhere between 12 to 24 inches of snowfall by the time this is done. Now, when we look at previous model runs, we can see there has been a notable shift. In fact, let's go to 0Z last night. We can see where the snow line and track was. It was way down here, right? If we look at the next few model runs, we can see how this shifts northward. You can see how this trends northward in recent model runs. So now it looks like, well, southeastern Tennessee, not going to get much snow at all, versus up here in Indiana and the Northeast, look to get much more snow than previously thought. However, the GFS model is not on board with the Euro now and still showing that this is going to bring more significant snowfall further south. I mean, gosh, Oklahoma City, Norman, Oklahoma could get up to 2 feet of snowfall potentially out of this winter storm. I think this is doing it over a little bit. I think it's overdoing it. I don't think you'll see 2 feet in Oklahoma City, but you will certainly see at least 1 foot of snowfall in that area. And then, of course, over parts of the mid-Atlantic here, as well as the Northeast, you might see at least 2 feet of snowfall if the GFS ends up being correct here, including parts of the Great Lakes, where you might see isolated amounts up to 2.5 feet. Now, another dangerous weapon that this winter storm will produce is copious amounts of freezing rain and ice accumulations from Texas into Oklahoma, into Arkansas, Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, Georgia, the Carolinas, in parts of West Virginia, Kentucky, and Virginia in itself. This is looking downright serious, and this is from the European model, folks. This is not from a hypercast model that's not reliable. This is truly concerning on all levels, and this is what really is making a lot of people concerned about this winter storm. So let's zoom in here and take a look first at the south central part of this map here of how much ice could potentially accumulate here. And right now, the latest Euro model, this is the 0Z output from tonight, and it is highlighting anywhere between about 0.2 of an inch to about 0.5 an inch of ice across central northern Texas into Oklahoma. Now, you are probably wondering, like, wait, why are you not saying an inch though, David? There's an inch on the map here. I feel like this is being done or overdone a little bit because there needs to be certain weather parameters that must be met long enough to have this amount of ice accumulate. And so that's why I'm staying on the low end here as far as my ice amounts go. But still, in all, up to 0.5 an inch here in central northern Texas and southern Oklahoma will be more than enough to knock out power for a long duration, lead to some tree branches to come down, very dangerous to impossible road and air travel. All right, and then you get into Arkansas here, and this is where we zoom in. Yeah, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, Tennessee here. Yeah, at least 1 inch of ice cannot be ruled out here. Now, the Euro has been throwing out and generating up to 3 inches of ice here in the Arklatex and parts of Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. I don't think you're going to see 2 or 3 inches. That is way overboard. But at least 1 inch of ice is certainly expected here. By no means at all. This is going to be the area that really needs to be watching out for the potential for very long duration power outages that will last potentially for a week or more because of the Arctic air that follows behind this stationary front. And then, of course, we look at the east here. Seriously, I mean, all the way from Texas, stretching all the way into the mid-Atlantic here into Virginia, as well as the Carolinas. Yeah, definitely some power outages, and that's why we're live streaming this. Now, remember how the GFS was overdoing the sleet amounts? Well, this is exactly why I don't trust the GFS when it comes to sleet amounts. I mean, up to 8 inches of sleet in a wide swath area? I mean, what the heck is going on with the GFS? That is why I think this is definitely being overdone by a whole margin. And I unfortunately think the Euro is doing pretty well at showing the amount of sleet and ice coverage, unfortunately, which is the worst case scenario that no one wants to hear in this morning's video. Therefore, with my team of crew that is strongly confident on this winter storm being particularly dangerous, I have went ahead and issued a storm warning for Oklahoma City, Dallas, Texas, Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, Charlotte in North Carolina, Washington, D.C., and some other cities like Chattanooga, as well as central Kentucky. This means that you could see up to 0.5 an inch of ice and up to 18 inches or greater of snowfall. Now, parts of this storm warning do not cover the snow threat, especially down here, so please keep that in mind, and instead it's going to be an ice threat. But areas further north, that's where you have a storm warning for up to 18 inches of ice, and the storm duration will last for at least 12 hours or longer. And a categorical upgrade potentially to an extreme storm warning is being considered in later updates here. So make sure you stay tuned for that here on the YouTube channel, where an extreme storm warning, you don't even want to know what that means. You could read it down here, but if that gets issued, I am very confident that catastrophic impacts will occur. What is certainly going to be potentially catastrophic will be the amount of cold Arctic air that pours in further south from the Arctic in Canada. Take a look at these wind chill values for Friday morning. When I showed Easy and Nate this on Discord, they were like, holy freaking cow. This is very serious. We are talking wind chill values up here as low as negative 55 degrees below zero, Once again, negative 55 degrees below zero are those wind chill values, and possibly even locally lower in some isolated spots, possibly as low as negative 60 in a few spots. And this is going to continue all the way into Saturday morning, where very cold air is going to be a huge issue across much of the Midwest. And that's the big bad concern about this. You get 1 inch of ice with the stationary front, colder air pours in, that ice stays frozen and leads to more additional power outages with strong winds. I mean, we're going to have multiple areas, millions without power potentially, the way this is setting up. And I don't really like to go too aggressive with my forecasts on this, but I'm sorry, there's going to be a lot of cold air in the wake of this, which is going to cause a lot of problems. Look at the wind chill values here by Monday morning. Down to negative 5, negative 15. We got negative 20 degrees in parts of Tennessee and Arkansas. In Missouri, negative 30 degrees below zero is what it's going to feel like. I mean, even down here in Tallahassee, it might feel like negative 15 degrees on a couple of the mornings, which is pretty darn dangerous. But anyways, if you did find this video very helpful, detailed, informative, and life-saving, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that bell notification icon, because again, we're doing 2 videos a day. I will have a video out this afternoon right around 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, followed by another video tomorrow morning at like 2 in the morning on Thursday. Then Thursday afternoon, we'll have another video out, and the same old pattern is going to continue through the weekend as we track this very significant winter storm. So again, if you have not subscribed yet, this is the time to doing so, because I will have a lot of updates out on this winter storm over the next few days, including a live streaming coverage of this winter storm beginning Friday night and going through the weekend into early next week. But anyways, I'll talk to you all this afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.